Hello everyone, as you can see I'm back in my own place and this is going to be the final Gen Con stream, basically coming mostly Saturday, and of course we'll cover the big thing, which is what everyone wants to hear, Disney Lorcana, but there's more than that. But we're going to start there anyway because that's how the day started off. So without further ado, let's talk about it. I first started off with a demo, went head to head. I got to use the Steel and Sapphire, the gray and blue deck, and I'll start off just right off the bat. Just, no, not that one. And boom, there we go. Some quick pictures I took as I started off very strong. I felt like this is, I don't know whether the deck was strong or I have a feeling it was more of just when you get a better hand versus your opponent. And I basically just was able to lock down so much of their stuff by either just dealing damage with cards or having these Hercules cards which act like bodyguards and make it so you have to go for them. I was very annoying. Those are the foils from those cards, and I was able to take a photo of the other two cards as well. And I took these quick photos over because I wasn't really sure, because I didn't think they were giving out too much product unless you were a fan, because they want to give that out. But they were actually nice enough. I'll go back. Yeah, there. To give me some stuff. I actually have it right over. Oh, wow. Here, a deck and a pack. And I thought I'd open the packs on stream right now just to see what would be fun. The deck I got, it was random, is the one I actually played against, that the red-green one. Of the colors, red-green was like, red's supposed to be like rushing, going quick, and green's like very evasive and trying to hide. Blue, the Sapphire, is the, blue, I'll just go over all the colors now, is supposed to be a bit more knowledge, I guess. Drawing is where you go for it, while Steel was it's aggressive like red, but I think it's more like damage and challenging rather than when red's like rushing in. The two colors I didn't see then were Amber, which is supposed to be like going wide in teamwork, and Amethyst, which is your spell casting and magic. So there is a pack included. I'm 90%. Yes, there is a pack included in there. So the deck lists are, all the cards are out and the deck lists are the same. So I thought I'd just open the packs here so everyone can see what's going on there. But because that's all everyone wants to see, is just everyone opens it, whatever the chase cards are, which I forget the name of the alternate art cards with. We'll see. We'll start with the one that's actually from the deck box. Let's see if I can do this. There's the front. All right, so there's the first card. And there is the next one. It's it's Maleficent. I was like, I didn't. You got a Peter Pan there. I just need, because the way I have this, I need to make this. There we go. Phil. Oh man. Some reason I can't say that right now, but Minnie Mouse, Aladdin, Frying Pan, which I used often, was very annoying with. Fan the Flames. Oh, sorry. Come on, focus on the. Oh, I gotta hide my face. That's probably why. Anna. Jasmine. Tamatoa, the crab. And is that our rare? I think Puma is our rare. Wasn't Puma the first card? Or not rare? Does it say where rare is? It didn't occur to me to ever look where the rarity is on these things. Oh, it's at the bottom. So Jasmine was, I think, the rare based on symbol. But yes, we started off and ended off with the same card there. So there's the pretty versus non-pretty. All right. Oh, we'll put those aside. But we have one more pack to see if we get anything cool in. And this is the extra pack that I got. So we start off with Archimedes, a green Tinkerbell, Merlin, Gaston, Mr. Smee, just general goons. Now we have Mickey Mouse. We have Minnie and Mickey together, at least. Beast, Captain, Hans, That's actually a very creepy piece of art there. Marshmallow. The White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. I think that's the rare. Oh, perfect for me. I'm always late. And yeah, another little Mickey Mouse card. Oh, that's also the foil too. So yeah, that's the pretty card in this one. So we actually did pretty well there, I think. I don't know. I haven't looked at the prices for any of these cards. So if that's what you're hoping to see, those are the cards. Oh, here's the deck. I'll go through really quick. But like I said, this is set, so it's not as exciting. But there you can see Aladdin. That's the green Aladdin up there. There's our two foils. But the way the game itself plays is you will be playing cards to face down, very common. It's becoming a lot more common, just like the Star Wars game we just talked about, as your resources. And there is nothing that is instant speed, so basically you're just doing stuff on your own turn. I will obviously do more and do a more in-depth playthrough with the deck and stuff, and actually get another one so I can actually play them against each other a bit more times than the one demo. But there is definitely a lot of like, how can I do as much as I can on my turn, because you can't do instant speed stuff. Creatures have drawing, I think it was. Basically, that's why they can't attack right away, but everything else isn't, so that's where you can take advantage of different artifacts and things like that. Like I said, my one game, I think I got it was one of those moments you can just sort of tell you just had that way too good of a hand and the opponent didn't, because they didn't get anything on the field. So I definitely need to play some more games. I did like the feeling, and some of the rules and mechanics are cool. I actually had a card that when it dies becomes a resource. I learned my lesson from Star Wars, where I accidentally put that in straight to resource, so that was really cool. And basically a lot of fun. Art's also really awesome. And it is sort of cool that a lot of the characters can appear in the other colors. It is a bit worrisome because if you say, oh, I'm playing Aladdin, you sort of need to know, like, you can't just say that. You know, Aladdin could be 10 different cards. But with the art styles, that hopefully will stay more unique. That way you can sort of still look at the card and right away know, oh, that is that Aladdin. And we'll see, obviously, this is just the first set. They're going to be adding way more. But after playing through the demo and getting the stuff, I actually got to talk with the designer himself. And I scrolled up past my notes. And a lot of the stuff is stuff we've already heard, I'll be honest. And for those who also tuning in, their current public stance has not changed when it comes to the recent news a while back involving the whole issue with Upper Deck. So don't expect to hear anything more about that until they announce more from that. So they have a public response. It's the same public response. So, but from there, like, we went over all the colors. I sort of listed that earlier before. What is basically, if you know about those Disney promo cards, they are findable. They want to make it very clear they don't want any kind of mechanically unique cards that are not found in a deck box or booster set. So don't expect to find any kind of strange, unique promos that way. This is actually a weird one that I didn't know about. It's sort of funny. Before, excuse me, the designer hopped on. The concept of this, the game, because this is Ravensburger talking with Disney, saying like, oh, what can we help with make? Apparently, the idea was come up in a bar known as The Famous. Therefore, this was known as Project Famous before it became Lorcana, which is weirdly fitting of a name, I think, if you were going to just give it a code name and not based on the location. Still not as much on the actual final details for the competitive scene, but it's going to be earning points in the league, and you can get those points to trade in for things like alternate art cards, pins, because it's Disney. But they did say that you are going to be able to earn points not just through tournaments, but like maybe showing up to the shop. And they pretty much have their OP kits. It seems like it's going to have a whole list of ways for store owners to reward people. So it's not just, once again, the playing of cards in the tournament. Same thing happening with the Star Wars one. It really seems they really want people to come in, and they don't want to scare people off with, like, because you weren't already knee deep in another TCG, you can feel more comfortable, which makes more sense as they're building around well-established properties that I think it's safe to say While there is a lot of people who love Disney, I would say there's probably a significant number of those fans who haven't played a card game yet. So they haven't walked into their local game store before and played tournaments. So they want to make sure that you feel excited to join right in the bat, not just because you've already mastered the best deck building strategy. Moving on from there, let's see. Yeah, I talked about the colors. They're also, by the way, actually, oh, perfect. This I know in this deck because I played against it, and the guy mentioned it. Because one of the issues when you come across building around a property is that you run out of characters. And yes, you can alter in colors, but one of the things they did bring up, here it is, perfect, sorry. These cards are known as Dreamborn. It's not that they're like a mechanical unique, they're not like a special thing in that sense. It's rather they're allowing to be like, well, this isn't all the cards you're playing with aren't technically the real Aladdin. It's not the canon Cruella de Vil, so on and so forth. Here, it's not the canon Scar. It's almost like a dreamed up alternate reality version of Scar. In this case, Elemental Beast. So that's another way we may expect to see them sort of flesh out their cards, making sure they fit all different colors, as well as see characters in new ways that maybe you didn't expect. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised because of that. Maybe we'll see like a whole set that's even based around like almost all of them being Dreamborn. Maybe seeing the heroes portrayed more villainous and the villains more heroic. Something of that weird nature. Once again, we're only on chapter 1. Yeah, that's what they call it, chapter 1. Outside of that, obviously, the usual stuff, deck boxes, packs. They've also already got like sleeves, storage. There are two other things. I mean, I've already talked about these before, and you probably already know about them if you've been keeping track. There's gift boxes, come with little booster packs. There come multiple booster packs in a box, as well as a special bigger kit that comes with a big version of a Mulan and Hades card, which I did ask, and those are not exclusive to that kit. They can be found in packs and stuff as well. So, once again, really trying to make sure at best that mechanically speaking, you can find these cards relatively well. It's just a matter of either opening packs or buying that rather than, being at Disney for their special event because of some special promo or even another Gen Con thing. Now, they may do mechanically unique alternate art cards that will be expensive, but at the very least, you won't feel bad that you can't build your special Mickey Mouse deck because of a certain card just not being printed that much and being in very short supply. Beyond that, unfortunately, like, my experience of it from this point is the game seemed pretty solid. I need to play more, all in terms of making sure that it's hitting game stores, this point system. We need to see the full details, but it sounds really nice. It really seems like they did everything on their end to try to make sure this lands. Now that's going to come up when it actually gets into stores and see how people buy it and people are excited. Whether people are excited to walk into their local game store that they never visited before, or if, there's still going to be a little bit of stigma. It's all going to be those kinds of small details that will help make or break Lorcana. And I'm relatively positive because I think they've done all the other stuff right so far, but it's a trading card game. Same thing goes with Star Wars. There's going to be a point, it depends on how everyone else reacts and responds to it. And then, of course, what happens in the future. If they may start making sets that people aren't excited about, then obviously that will be a bad case. But assuming that they keep putting the attention to detail we see here, and with both the cards, the mechanics, the art, and if the snowball does start rolling once it lands in stores and people are excited and buy things, then I think it looks pretty positive for Disney Lorcana. But we will wait and see. Mark, sorry I completely ignored your comment, but yep, there's plenty of stuff in store, and of course you can see the other stream I had before that goes over all the other days. One of the reasons, by the way, that covered multiple days, and the reason why I'm recording this Sunday instead of Saturday night, is this was actually not just because Disney Lorcana, but Disney Lorcana helped, and I'm glad I almost passed through Lorcana without mentioning this. This was a really busy Gen Con. Disney Lorcana itself caused such a huge line that they worked with the Gen Con employees and did something that Gen Con's never done before, in which you can start the lineup for next day's Disney Lorcana like pack selling the day before. So you would actually get in line like at 6 p.m. in order to get stuff next day at 10 p.m. Like this is the stuff I didn't expect to see since, or not expect, I haven't seen since like the old days of when I bought like the Wii on launch day, lining up in front of the Best Buy. I am very sorry, just long trip back and all that. And yeah, excuse me, water was required, but that wasn't the only thing. As I go through a lot of these, and I mentioned it other times before in the previous, almost every person I talked to sold out at least one game or was extremely low on stock. And I really feel like this was a lot of people wanting to come back to Gen Con. We'll see when we get the final number tally, but I imagine it's going to be, if not normal to pre-pandemic, better than it. But we'll see. I do think Lorcana played a big part, but I do think there was more happening than just that. Otherwise, the convention would have felt empty after whenever the Lorcana products sold out, which I'm sure was within a few hours. But let's see. Is there anything else from Lorcana I'm missing here? My notes. I mentioned the league points, mechanically stuff. I went over all the color stuff. Yes, in terms of the meeting and stuff. And overall, first game was, like I said, it was fun, but it did feel like I just happened to get that awkwardly strong hand. So I definitely need to play more games where it feels a bit more back and forth. And I think that's possible. It just, when two people are learning a game and one person just gets probably the better hand for that deck, that can happen. I mean, technically it happened in Star Wars 2. It's just I was on the losing end, so it's much easier for me to not feel bad about it. But moving on from there, Board and Dice was next. And the game they showed off to me was one that you actually can start pre-ordering tomorrow, I believe, and that's Nucleum. This is actually an alternate history style game where you will actually be playing at, like, nuclear energy was discovered way earlier than before. So let me just, boom, there we go. So this is your player board. It actually becomes a bit asymmetrical. You have technologies here on the left. You should be able to see that on my mouse, I believe. And to unlock those, you need to build these special buildings over here. The stronger the building, the stronger the text you can build. But you're not starting off with nuclear energy just yet. You are going to have this huge board here. You're going to start off with coal. But to get the coal, you need to build these railways to your locations where you're going to place the buildings. And there's different kinds of buildings. And you start off with coal until, here, like, there's a power plant that's just using coal. Doesn't have the nuclear energy yet, but once you get enough of these stars in the right places, you can get the nuclear requirements to turn that into a nuclear power plant. But to get nuclear energy in the nuclear power plant, you're going to start needing to mine nuclear or uranium. So, excuse me. You can already see how all the mechanics are like building into each other. Even the railways, to jump quickly ahead to... No, not there. Oh, yeah, here. Sorry. The other side, when you play them, you actually match these colors first, and they give you bonuses based here. So you might want to build certain railways, not just because you need the connection, but also like, oh, well, I really want to get more bonuses, so I'm going to wait until I can get a double bonus. But you're supposed to put meeple, by the way, on the top to mark that it's your railway, so someone can sort of block you out of the way. And you don't have to build all three here right away, so you could build two and your opponent builds one, therefore you're sort of sharing the railway, but you could also squeeze them out by building all three. But to return to the main board, excuse me, the way the game actually ends is you're going to have multiple ending conditions, and I believe it was 2 you can fill. Do I make sure I put that? I did not, unfortunately, but multiple. Once you hit a certain number of them, like for example, almost a player hitting 70, you actually see the little flag token to remind you there. As well as running out of buildings. Hence, once again, the flag's there. Once enough of those are triggered, that will actually trigger an end game and therefore go into points. Now, this is a demo copy. If that wasn't, I hope that was obvious. And by the way, like I said, with the Disney Lorcana, I was invited to all these events, and they gave me that product. And this is not product I bought myself. I'll make it very clear if I did get something myself, just like in the previous stream, though I had enough just from the first days. I didn't really buy anything else afterwards. Um, and this as well, I was invited to make that very clear. So, excuse me. As you can tell, it's been getting back. It's just very tired and hitting the that Gen Con exhaustion, so to speak. But I mean, I think it looks really cool, and I'm a little bit of a sucker for anything involving nuclear energy because because of Godzilla, to be honest. But I actually like a lot of these mechanics. I'm very curious to see the idea of sharing but blocking pathways as well, because sometimes it can be like, well, I can block you off here, but you can build the resources there. There could be some political elements being like, hey, if you let me build one like railway there, I'll help build out this area for you. So I'm really curious to see how that all works out and how that will play with the interaction, not just the mechanics. So I want to. Yep. Oh yeah. Also, you may notice up here those railway tiles in the back. Some of them can be used as slot in as action as well as not just build the railways for their color matching too. So a lot of multi-use pieces while sort of building up your engine from either tech or the buildings that you're going to lay out. If you like Euros, I think it looks really cool. Also, it just sticks out a bit more being not like, I think, older like art style. It's like steampunk almost, I guess, because it is alternate history, but it's not steam, it's nuclear. So I don't know if there's a name like, oh yeah, we're steam or nuclear punk, something like that. But from there, I actually went to see Incredible Dream Studios. They just did a Kickstarter for this big campaign game called Kinfire Chronicles. Uh, Big story game. Actually, apparently has a prequel comic as well, that or web comic that you can check out. They just said they wrapped up the current. Was season the word they use or story? I'm sorry, I forgot. Should have like wrote down the exact keyword because that always can change. But there may be more there because I think it was like 1 year after the big event. Well, the game takes place 5 years after the major event. This is already being fulfilled and to their backers, so that's slowly going out. Though the one cool thing I wanted to point out is that they said it was like a bit hard for this Gen Con, but for future events, if you like this game and try it out, the player boards are like specific characters, but you may get promos that have like a slot you put over the character's art. It's the same character, but just like looks differently. Maybe it'll be like more modern interpretation. Maybe they could do, special events like, of course, Gen Con or something like that. So a fun way for promos that are visually speaking, or not visually speaking, like it's an artistic choice. It's the fashion game, so to speak, rather than a mechanical thing. So cool little thing there. But they have two things coming this October. One straight to retail release and one that is going to be for a crowdfunding project. The retail is called Kinfire Delve Grotto. And let me just pull up the image I have of that. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I cut off something when I took the image. But it should still... excuse me. You will play each Kinfire Delve, this one that they're showing off is called Grotto, has you actually delve into what's known as a well. There'll be a boss in the center. Here it's Vainglory. And they'll have 4 cards placed around them. And each of these cards can be traps, obstacles, monsters. And playing these two characters, you'll have a hand of cards to fight and deal with these items. Each character can sort of help the other one. Of course, maybe they might not want to. The cards are multi-purpose. They have boost effects rather than also major play effects. By the way, the characters for this game have art on the back that can be used for the sort of same promos I was mentioning before, alt arts for the base game of Kinfire Chronicles. So it's almost like the old video games where you're like, if you keep buying things online, they sort of help or give a little bonus to the other game. This one, I didn't notice this before, but this one actually has a music theme to it. You notice this person looks a bit like an orchestra, not a conductor, and violin body. It's more sense when they had the big boss art, which I should have gotten. They also showed me the art for the other two, and I bring that up because the final boss is like a demon in an apron, which is amazing, and I love it, and I hope that the apron, I need to steal the apron from the boss. I need that equipment. It is going to be mine. But I think 45 minutes. This says 60 minutes. It said like it could be 45 if you know what's going on. So it's like a quicker dungeon delving game for if you are like waiting for someone else for like, you have four people for the Fire Chronicles and you're like, all right, they're not going to show for an hour. We can play through this first. So you still can be in the story of the world and, see these incredible pieces of art and fun adventures while also, something that you can not feel too bad and wrap up really quick. Oh, and bosses are multiple. So each time you delve into the well, you might fight a different version of the boss with different abilities. So there's replayability there as well. They're all in the back, by the way. The other one, I think their images are actually first. Yeah. No, too far. So this is their new project that's going to be coming soon. Yeah. To crowdfunding. Basically, you will be playing as these rescue critters who are moving around a board. And if you look in the top left here, there's a weird, like, mechanical jackals. I think they were actually called gremlins. But basically, these strange robot creatures have been appearing in the world. You're trying to find out what's going on. You'll have these missions here. You'll see right here, deliver resources to Branch Den that you'll have to do. But along the way, you may collect up these little tokens here you see on the left. Those are little characters that you'll need, as there is, of course, an event deck that has many scary bad things, and the only way to deal with them, such as fires, rock slides, is gain the right characters that can interact and help you there. For example, perfect, right up here, like for the fires, you may need a fireman gecko. Oh, come on, there we go, fireman gecko. And so the way you actually move around the board, you may notice there's not really spaces. You may see some like weird dotted lines here. Is each character there has a number of paw print tokens over here, and they're gonna have little paw print circles, and you can line them up from where the base figure is. So, for example, the raccoon here or the ram here, and sort of make a trail with them. However, if you look, they're different colors. So, for example, Vane here, the white is wild, if I recall correctly. So, two of the footprints can go anywhere. One has to go on a green territory, one can be on either the mountain or blue. So, you're going to have to travel and try to plan out as best you can. Maybe you can't place everything. For example, Sleek needs at least one on water. So, if you're not near water, you're only going to probably place 2 or 3. So, there's going to be a lot more about trying to navigate through the world, not simply just going like 1, 2, 3, 4 movement, but rather trying to move around the terrain and go where your character works best. And of course, they all have their own abilities. They each have a different amount of items, be it tokens or resources that they can carry. And along the way, right there, perfect. Well, let me show you. No, there's a question mark token down there. You are going to hit little story beats. They're going to tell you what's going on in the world, how to deal with it. There's our jackals. And that, of course, you have to, if too many of those build up, they'll take you out as well. Or not jackals, gremlins, sorry. Like here, this explains the fire. There's a little fire troop, the rock slides. So it's all this very interesting movement, and of course, obviously with the question marks, it told me it has a lot of narrative. There are going to be different maps as well, so there could be a map that might be harder for certain characters, I imagine, or have a lot more water, a lot less water, a lot more mountains. So you're going to be finding out what's going on in this world, and of course, just lots of cute critters. Personally, I think if I had to choose one, Paige, she's at the fossil den. So Paige looks adorable. And, of course, a little slower, but she can walk on anything. Paige doesn't care. Paige just goes. Can she carry infinite? I didn't notice that before. Okay. Yeah, Paige can carry as much resource as she wants. Paige does not care. Paige just goes. She moves, and she'll carry whatever she wants, which makes you like me more. But lots of fun, cute art. Spoilers, prototype. But looks really fun if you like more narrative stories, and of course, cute little critters. Like I said, to me, the movement reminded me a bit more of like war game movement, except instead of a ruler, you have like almost a bunch of little tokens. I guess X-Wing had like the different maneuver pieces you can use. It was something like that, except it's a bit more unique to where they're placed on the board. So, apparently we got a vote for Sleek. Sleek now, but yeah, a lot of very cute critters. And the movement thing is the thing. I mean, narratives always get me, so that's an easy win. But the movement thing I think is really cool. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. I mean, Kinfire Chronicles, they've already done a heavy narrative game, so I know they can do story games. So I feel that is a bit more of a safe bet, but definitely something really cool. Kinfire I already like a lot of the design there. I like the idea of the promos because you can do some really fun, silly stuff. The delving, like I said, I need that apron, and this looks really cool as well. I think it has a lot of more fun little extra mechanics and also a new little world. So very exciting to see what they do with this one as well. I wonder if he'll also get a little comic, like I said, for Kinfire. But from there, I went to Brotherwise Games. Mostly they showed off the new dungeon cart that they have. If you don't know, Brotherwise has the whole boss monster and overboss. And Dungeon Cart is the cart game for the boss line. It is customizable tracks, so you could do the demo table had like your classic, ring track, but you could make it so it is a full one-way track. And of course, during the project, this is going to be a crowdfunding project as well. They'll have a bunch of different kinds of tracks you can take. Whether you want to make it longer, different hazards, like they mentioned, ice. So plenty of ways for you to add all the shenanigans you want. And of course, the characters that you recognize, as well as they said some more deep cuts that maybe you might not recognize at first glance. I will admit I'm not as knowledgeable as the whole boss line of characters, so I imagine I will definitely maybe miss out on some of them at first glance. As well, though, they had their other game that isn't part of the boss world, and is the Castles by the Sea, and that one actually apparently sold out for them, as well as their Overboss Duel. They had someone I was there, but they're like, yeah, we're basically running out, and it's looking like to go sell out. But Castles by the Sea, that is with the little shorelings. They're probably like this tall, and you're building cute little sandcastles. Very obvious why people are very excited to see that and try it out. So a lot of cool stuff that they already had that did very well at Gen Con, as well as if you're looking for a fun racing game that maybe gives a bit more to the creative side in making tracks, you may want to check out the Dungeon Cart game that should be coming to crowdfunding soon. From there, I was invited to check out with the Op. There had just a bunch of different variety of games. This is one of those companies that does like a weird, from like the silliest, lightest part games to trying to get a bit more heavy. They had a game called What the Cup. Basically, as they described it, it's liar dice with game shenanigans. You'll have a cup under a die, but instead of just trying to bluff and bet, you're going to have card abilities such as pass your cup to the left one, or change that the highest or lowest die is the winner. Things of that nature. So there's going to be a lot of shenanigans that way and manipulation, rather than simply just trying to hope for the best from and hiding your information under your die. From there, what else? Oh yes, Express Route. This is actually one of their heavier games. This is actually a cooperative pickup game. You will all be playing as a delivery service, and there'll be packages that will be delivered across the United States, though each package will have different requirements. Goal is simple. You just need to deliver 8 packages. That said, they'll get much harder, but in order to help deliver those harder packages, there are ways for you to get special technology upgrades. They just cost delivered packages. So this is a game that to win, you're probably going to deliver, even though you need 8 delivered at once, you may deliver more like 12 throughout the entire game. They just showed it off. I didn't sit down and play it. But that you need to decide whether you keep it for endgame scoring or whether you use it to upgrade your powers for later deliveries. I should have put a note here. Just give me 1 second to check up one thing, why it's not here. I'm sorry, I should have put the name of this, but I didn't. So the first game they showed, and probably why I forgot to actually write down, is called The Art Project. This is a cooperative game. You may recognize the artist. It's one of those artists, Vincent Duray, who just tends to be like it does a ton of different board games. But basically, I feel they didn't say this to me, but I feel like it's Carmen San Diego, like old school or Carmen San Diego, in which there's a villainous group that's just stealing a whole bunch of art. Like literally on the back of the box, it shows them airlifting the, and when I say art, I'm talking anything. They were airlifting the Statue of Liberty. So you are working together trying to reclaim all this art while also manage in dealing with the presence of the goons of the group. And you'll have to work together. You know, it's very asymmetrical to reclaim the art, so someone can take an action, someone else take an action. Now, the map they had there was a Japan map, but the guy demoing with other people showed off they have maps for all the other places. And they all have different rules and aspects. So you could be playing one game in Japan, like I said, one in New York. So a lot of fun little stuff there. And another light, fun little cooperative game. The big one that they had, which apparently sold out, was The Perfect Wave. This is all about surfing. You're going to have cards that have numbers on them representing the waves, and your goal is to line them up in the right order in order to make that perfect wave. But you also have a surfer, because the wave, it can be perfect, but if the surfer's not catching it, it's basically useless. So you have to decide to try to move the surfer out. And also there are cards where they can do tricks along the wave that you place at the top. So it's all about trying to gather your resources in the right way, and, you know, trying to make that perfect wave. And then finally, this is not new. Disney Sorcerers, they had a tournament going there. That's really the big thing. And I bring it up because I was curious. I asked, like, so is anyone showing up to be a little strong? And they said, yeah, Sully. Apparently, Sully is really strong in that game. He's tanky, and he can force everyone to deal with him and attack him by taunting them. So apparently, Sully is very good in that. But moving on from there, Floodgate Games. Now, they did have their Sagrada Legacy game there. I actually backed it. It came right before I left for Gen Con. They did not give that to me. That is something that I purchased on my own to play. So hopefully have a review for that sometime in the future. But they also had a few other things to show off. First, they have Everything Ever. Basically, this is a card game that, like, if you like charades, that kind of naming categories based on something, you definitely want to go. You'll probably really like this. This is more party, though, and more like you have to be a bit quicker because you have cards on the table and you basically have 10 seconds to try to name something that fits in each card category. Or you get a bonus if you can name something. For example, that he showed, like, there's a card that said name a doctor from a fictional work and name a monster, Dr. Frankenstein, something like that. So trying to get something that can hit multiple categories, give you a stronger bonus. They actually sent me a promo pack right before I left for Gen Con. And then at the convention, they gave me a copy of just the game proper. So once again, invited here, tend to get games, and I will make it very clear. And if I do a video on that, just like I tried recently, if I did get paid, if I did receive a copy, and in this case, most of the stuff I'm talking about, I'll mention I have been invited to see and talk with these people. Now, I wanted to make sure I got that out again, but now I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Oh, right. They are also going to have special little promo packs in the future for Everything Ever. They said that what they want to try and do is for future Gen Cons, there'll be a card you can get that's like one of the categories is game from Gen Con 2024. So you can have all these Gen Con cards. And you have to remember what game was around during that time that was popular. So I thought that was really fun and cute and a way for people to just always want to stop by and visit the booth. Similar to how you always get the coupon pack every time you go to Gen Con. So that's another cute little thing, fun light party game. Yeah, I already talked about quickly the Legacy game. Now the other one is sort of an update, maybe not update, a new take on their Kites game. And this is actually going to involve fireworks. So just like before, you have the timers, but you may notice that you have a little clock here. That is because as this timer flips, if you do work well, your goal is to try to get this timer over to the big red button. You want to hit the red button. And you're going to be playing the fireworks cards to do so. However, if you're unable to play things in the right time here, instead, You have this represents the audience. They will flip over because they're getting bored, fail 3 times, and you lose. In addition to that, there's the timers again in a much prettier little picture, but there are also going to be different scenarios up to 30, which will tell you and give you different rules. For example, you may actually have cards placed in front of the red button, so before you can hit the red button, you need to play those cards, which timers you're supposed to use, all that stuff. So this definitely got a lot more complex things going on and going to change things up versus the kite. There are some of the cards, very pretty cards. If you haven't played Kite, definitely check it out. It's a really fun dexterity game with timers. If you have played Kite, this is the one you want to check out because it's going to, I think, reward players and add sort of that extra complexity that you're looking for maybe if you feel like you've gotten kites down. And of course, secret little bonus pack if you're able to complete all 30 of the previous cards, but I'll leave it to you to get through the game and find out what's in there. I do know what's in there. So from there, I actually went to talk to Evil Genius. They actually run an RPG line. The main book is Everyday Heroes, and basically this is stemmed from, actually I should have wrote this down, but it was actually like a modernized version. D&D released a long time ago, around the 3.5 split. Now that isn't the exact rules, but the idea was when they created the company, they wanted to bring back that D20 system that revolved around a more modern timeline and like setting. So when you make your character in there, you're gonna have like personality, and then maybe like your background's like farmer, and then your class could be bodyguard, things of more of that nature. So like things that you may associate more as being realistic. That being said, and there's plenty you can play with just those rules alone. What you may have seen them more about is they have a whole line of supplement books based on a lot of movies. They've got one based on The Crow. They've got Pacific Rim. They got Skull Island. And what's cool about this is this is what they showed off, and it was interesting. For example, the Crow one. In the movies, there's only one crow because there's only like one spirit of death. They actually talked with the people who own the IP, and they wanted like, hey, we want to try to make this feel more canon, and in some cases is canon for some of the things. And like for example, that one is they actually have multiple spirits of death representing different creatures besides a crow. So they really went to do not just get the IP, but also work with the IP owners to really expand it and make it make more sense within whatever world that, the usually movies they're going with. And they didn't tell me, but apparently some future books, they're actually working with the directors of said movie. So I can only imagine what else they have in store for that. I did get a copy of the base rules, the Everyday Heroes. This one is the one I'm most scared about, not because of the rules, but because unlike other games, I need to wrangle up and either... I'm not sure if I should use the carrot and find a way to bribe people to come and play this game and come to sessions, or the stick with blackmail. Well, I don't know which is the most effective. Any good DMs out there, please tell me what's the best way to convince players to stay. Besides being good, I'm not very good at being a good DM yet. So, if you're looking for an RPG, whether you're something much more grounded, just use the core rule books, or if there's a movie you like, check it out because there's a good chance they might cover a movie that you enjoy and you'll be able to use their rule sets for that. From there, technically, I should have been done, but this is the end of the day, and I realized, I'm walking around the floor, I'm like, I finished, I got my meetings done. I look up and I see the North Star banner, and I'm like, thought I was supposed to have a meeting with them. And for some reason, I did confirm through my emails, but it didn't get added to my calendar, or I deleted it off my calendar, which led to me running frantically to their booth, waiting until they were done talking with people. And literally, like, during the last minutes of Gen Con, before I got kicked out of the show floor, of heavily apologizing, and they were absolutely cool. And they're like, oh, no problem. We'll quickly go over all the stuff they have. So... first thing they wanted to show, they told me about was Elia and something shiny. This is a story player game in which you'll be playing cards, and depending on the action you take, it'll be like, oh, if I decide to buy something, then I'll add that to the future deck because I bought something, or not, I have the coin for later to do a different action, and a bit of a splitting narrative. Now, there are multiple endings, and though they did not want to use this wording, I asked because they said, like, well, there's one ending that's very hard to get. You might need multiple. I'm like, oh, so it's the true ending. It's not the true ending, they said, but that's what it reminded me of in playing video games when you replay it again to try to get the secret true ending. And they mentioned how, like, oh, and the story can go to many different places. It could be like look very lighthearted and stuff, and next thing you go, it can get very dark and scary. So once again, didn't really get to play demos of this because, clock was ticking end of the show, and because I missed the meeting, they were just nice enough to even talk to me. But story games, I like those. The other one, which this is probably the worst reason for me to miss this meeting. Because, of course, right after this meeting, I just look online and I hear everyone talking about this. And it just every single time, I'm just like, I'm really messed up. But that was the game Inheritors. And just pointing it out, like, really quick, it just seems, I can't even, like, we didn't really say too much. Like, yeah, they also did Inheritor games too. It's been really popular. Apparently, it's a really fun drafting game. But check that out if you like it. But the other thing that I want to talk about, what North Star Games is known for was their Evolution game. Now, I really liked Evolution, but it had some problems. It had a really big snowball problem, and it was very easy to lock someone out. But they made Oceans. I love Oceans, and it fixed a bunch of those problems. But it is designed in a way where you're almost like building up your own little community system, creatures that interact with each other rather than just like a big cool species. So they're taking another crack of this system, and this one's called Nature. It's the evolutions of evolutions. I guess the splitting off from Oceans. It's gonna focus more on the land again, and this is more species focused. They also, the way they remove snowballing is that if all your stuff gets killed, which is usually how you got ruined in Evolution proper, basically all those resources, you wouldn't score points at the end of that round, but they would go back to whatever your new species you spawn. As the only way to spawn new species was everyone gets one each round. So I think it was 4 rounds for the base rules, so 4 new species during the entire game. That said, the game is going to come with a bunch of modules, different rule sets you can throw on. Each module will add another round usually, and of course change up the rules. For example, one of them is Jurassic period rules. This module will make it so you'll build creatures much bigger, much quicker, and of course reward you for having said large creatures. They also mentioned like some would be called Elephant Jungle, Rainforest, Flying, Natural Disasters, each of them with their own rules. They're still going through testing on this one. You can actually join a Discord and do play testing and tell them thoughts. For example, they had flying, creatures with flying, and rainforest, and then people were like, well, the flying creature should be able to reach the canopy in the rainforest. And at first, they're like, well, how do we do that? They have different keywords. Instead, they decided to give climbing and flying creatures something called a reach, which means that they can hit higher locations. So in flying, where the cliffs are, the climbing creatures, they're not all monkeys, can hit the high cliffs because they can climb the cliffs, while the flying creatures also have reach and can hit the top of the canopy. So they're really trying to make sure that all these can jive. You can do multiple modules, by the way, so you could do Jurassic Rainforest or Natural Disaster Elephant Jungle. So there's going to be a lot of different ways for you to tweak it to whatever's fit. If you want like older evolution and make it a much more cutthroat, you can do that. Then you can make it much more simpler where people sort of play and deal with their own creatures. That will also be possible as well. So another crack at evolution. This one, though, seems much more customizable compared to the previous Oceans. And, of course, maybe not a bit more streamlined and the tighter rules than the original Evolution. Thygo, thank you so much. French board gamer living in Brazil. Thank you, yeah. And I'm doing enough here. Like I said, if you can't tell I'm sounding, it's long day today, flying in, dealing with this stuff. Packing was fun, trying to fit all the games that I was not expecting so much stuff. That's why I didn't even unpack them all, because if you watch the last stream, I actually just showed off everything. But this time I was just like, I'm just gonna get to this stream. I'll take out the Disney Lorcana because I'm sure people want to see the packs open. After that, though, and one of the reasons why I didn't stream Saturday night, I had two big night events. The first one was another Disney Lorcana one, but basically that was with a bunch of content creators and just hanging out more with the designer and hang out and talking to each other. They did do a fun thing where they gave us some packs. I already opened those and nothing interesting in terms of like show off, so it's not like, oh, surprise. But they were like, all right, try to find these 6 cards. So everyone was going around like, hey, do you have this card? Yeah. Do you want to trade for it? No. I really hope they actually don't just like, oh, it's a PR stunt, because that actual like scavenger hunt thing, I think would be perfect to give to game stores. Like to be like, all right, give these out. If someone enters in the draft, or this is probably more like a sealed thing, would work best. Give them this card. Players will start running around asking for commons and stuff. You don't put like the super rare things in the list, and when they have them, they go up and they can get a pin or something, because it caused at least. I mean, I don't know how well it will work in all stores, but I think that could add a lot of people starting to talk and interact with each other and feel like, hey, sorry, can you help me? I'm looking for this card. Yeah, no problem. I think it actually would work really well in game stores. And feel free. I mean, other companies do that. Anything that causes people to, because it wasn't like, even though obviously people were like rare cards, you want to hold on a little bit more. That's why I want to focus on uncommon and common cards for these kinds of lists. I would love this because when I've, at least recently for me, for trading, it's become so much more like, all right, I got to look at the TCG prices. It feels more close to the vest because it is a money proposition. And this scavenger hunt wasn't that. It was much more of a, oh my God, let's all work together. We got to find these things. It's a scavenger hunt. So that was actually, I think, I really hope they take to heart and the kind of things we should expect to see from them. But this was a big media event press thing, so I don't know. We'll have to see what they do with that. That was actually most of the night just hanging out and actually getting the chance to talk to a lot of other content creators, which is great for me because usually I'm way too shy to talk to them. And it's really nice, just to hang out and talk with them that way. No offense to the Lorcana team. It's great to hang out with them, but, the content creators, other content creators, it's cool. I'm usually just the only weird guy here in Jersey. But the other thing that I went to was it was like a small concert, and that one was more of just a fun event. Everyone's around, hanging out, not really specific to one game. So just another thing, hanging out, that just talking to people, or that one a bit more was just me walking around, maybe partially because I was already exhausted by then. But that one, let me pull up the actual name of it here really quick. Of course, yeah, there it is. The Ragnarok Rage stage. That's what was the name of it. It was like multiple people there. Like it was Rollicray who initially once again, I was invited to these things. But there was also like Voodoo Ranger, Nevermore, Alchemy, Backer Kit. So a lot of stuff there going on. And basically that was like the big night, and I came back exhausted and had to pack up for the morning, which is why I decided to push this stream till now. Other than that, let me see. Oh, actually, wait, I have one more thing. I did see, because I had usually like maybe 30 minutes between some meetings to talk. Let me just pull up the photos. I have a little bit of more wandering stuff. This is just painted Madara figures. I liked it. I think it was a lot of fun. I haven't tried as much with the new adjustments they released in the update kit. It's Dead Cells. This was the game they were showing off with Hatchet. So I know a lot of people are really excited about that as well. So plenty of stuff there. But yeah, that is most of my wanderings were all those meetings. That was me going from meeting to meeting and doing stuff that way Saturday. Very busy. Overall, what I've learned, I'll have a bit more nice proper Gen Con wrap-up video. But Gen Con, I think, is getting popular. I think the companies are seeing that, and they're doing more to try to get meetings to get their things out. I usually used to leave Sunday mornings. I think I need to leave Sunday open for meetings, which gives me more time to actually walk the show floor. Because I'm sure there are plenty of games people will mention, like, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you play this? Why didn't you pick up this? It's because I barely walked through the show floor. This is the first Gen Con where I didn't spend one day weaving through the entire convention hall to just see everything. Usually I get to do that once, which maybe I missed something, but I at least generally saw everything. This I did not get that chance. So to me, that is a big loss on my part because I really feel like that's always a great thing to do. You get to see where everything is, lay the land for meetings, but also just like, oh, well, that looked interesting. I'm gonna make a note of that for later. Things of that nature. That's not a bad thing though. It means that there's more to do. Also, like I said, Wednesday I had stuff going on, so that can't be a day anymore for me to just do setup or at least arrive earlier Wednesday. And I don't even think that's the same for media people. I think the same will be for just a general Gen Con attendee. There are tons of ticketed events. There's going to be a much bigger push. I'm really curious to see whether Disney Lorcana and if Star Wars Unlimited really hit it off, if we're going to see more of that at Gen Con and whether we're going to have like maybe a bigger push in the TCG area. These are all things I'm really curious to see. Overall, I think Gen Con was a success for a lot of people. I think it was really good. A lot of people sold out a lot of their games. I think people were revenge buying and revenge conning. And I have pretty high expectations for future Gen Cons. I feel like we've officially made it past the pandemic, and hopefully that means that Gen Con will be able to grow and go into more weird, diverse areas. Then maybe this could be just my own experience and this one was different for me. Maybe this stuff was happening way before and I just didn't notice it. But while exhausted, positive. Other than that, thank you so much for watching up to this point. Let me know your thoughts on anything. I will be playing more Disney Lorcana. I actually do like a more proper review for that because I would like to have some more games under my belt to talk a bit more about the mechanics and stuff. And of course, for the other games I've got, I will of course always mention to you, just like in this videos, like in this stream, mentioning how I was invited to these things, and tell you if the games are ones I received, just in case you want to make sure you know or not. If it's an official review, you can always know it's never paid. I just received the game because I don't want to get anything else beyond that. And other than that, I think that is the big takeaway I have from this. Hopefully these work better, and knowing all this, maybe I'll try to make the streams work better as well and actually on time. But that will require me knowing also when all those events occur. Because of course I'm like, oh, I'll do night streams. They won't give me a lot of meetups during the night. That was not true. But thank you so much for everyone watching. This is where I'm going to call it a night. I need to get some dinner. It is late and I am hungry. I will do an official, more proper stream that gives maybe my overall opinion of Gen Con and my thoughts on what was big there. As well as, of course, I'm probably going to cut these streams up just in case you wanted to find out just a very specific part or scenario of something I was talking about. But for now, that is all I have. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts if you were at Gen Con or if you missed out, what you hope to see, what I missed out on. Love to hear any comments from you. But for now, thank you so much, and thank you for joining me for this Roll for Crit stream. Have a good night.